Hey guys, what's up? This is Aaron with Goodness Chick. Thanks for joining me this week. How many of you have a child who is super excited or maybe very anxious, overly anxious about the beginning of another school year? Wherever your young person might be, I believe there are some tips and strategies in challenging them and paving the road to having a successful an enjoyable school year, whether they are in middle school or in high school. I'm going to throw these tips your way. We have 6 tips this week that we're going to rock out with. The first one being, and I think super duper important, is sleep. Maybe a lot of kids who will come into school the morning, and I've had 4 hours or 6 hours of sleep. Kids by nature need a lot of sleep. Getting up really early, depending on what time your school day starts for your young person, can be really tough. Setting out a specific, we'll say, bedtime or amount of hours that you're aiming for is really, really important because it affects all aspects of their day, from class time to activities that are involved with when they come home doing homework. Sleep quality and quantity totally go hand in hand with the quality of day that they're going to have to some extent. So sleep is our first one. Second one, their eating habits is super duper important. I'm not going to be throwing the food pyramid your way, but I cannot tell you how many kids I've had conversations with. One of the first questions I always ask them, did you eat breakfast this morning? I throw a Pop-Tart or a granola bar or something to fill their stomachs. I know that it's not super uber healthy, those two things, but to me, it's better than nothing. And how many kids will say, I don't eat breakfast, or I ate breakfast, I had a 24-ounce of coffee, or I had a Red Bull. In just ingesting caffeine and running on caffeine or nothing at all, whether you're 12 years old or you're 17 years old, just is not healthy. You're kind of running your car like on gas fumes, and it's got that E there. I've got to get to the gas station, but I'm going to keep going. A young person can't go without having some proper form of nutrition. I know if I don't eat breakfast in the morning, I'm kind of super evil and scary and crazy because it's part of my daily routine, and I know if I'm going to be kind of rocking and rolling all day, whether I'm at home, I'm at work, I'm out running errands, whatever, you need something in the beginning of the day. And even if that's, even if your kid's 17 and super crappy at remembering breakfast, have them have a box of granola bars or whatever they dig in their locker, because then there's no excuse. I mean, there's kids, I'll say, I know if they can't afford it, I'm not going to remember breakfast. Dude, here's a box of Pop-Tarts or, the whatever type of granola bar that they dig, because I know for 5 days they're eating breakfast in the morning. And that's really important for our kids in kind of getting the day and the school year off in the direction it needs to go. So we've got sleep, eat. We're eating squared here, where eating as a family is really important. You might be super crazy trained, busy with sports and different meetings and this and that. As often as you can as a family, sitting down and breaking bread, even if that's, you don't have to go all Julia Child, order a pizza and you're sitting around the table. Don't get in the habit of, you're sitting around and just watching TV and nobody's talking. Communication, when our kids are in school, you kind of have a very short window of time during the day to be able to communicate. Whether it's from 4 o'clock till bedtime, or, they are staying after school for sports or the play or whatever it is, and they don't get home till 7 or 8, you're talking an hour and a half in the day. Totally take advantage of that time that you might have, that window of time, rock and roll, in doing mealtime together. And throwing out a question, how was your day? Getting specific, where you're not asking questions that are just not yes or no, because when it's yes or no, a kid's going to answer yes or no, and then the conversation's over. So get creative. Kind of get into a habit of asking questions that aren't interrogating, that can kind of start at the surface, but just generating dialogue and conversation, because it's so easy for days to slip into weeks and weeks to slip into months. And then it's like, do you really know what's going on with your kid? And so many people kind of have a disconnect, and it's so much easier to connect when you rock out and take advantage of mealtime. Boom, that sucker's big. So we're moving on from eating. Now we're getting into having them being connected, being a part of something. One of the first things that's thrown out to me, well, my kid's not an athlete. Dude, they don't have to be an athlete, okay? We're going to take a step back. They can be involved in something. I know that the high school that I work in, one of the first things I do when I sit down with a freshman, what are you involved in? And we have a big packet of activities. There's ping pong club, there's community service club, there's I want to, get involved in different outreach and whatever it is, there's something for everyone. And if I sit down with a junior and senior and say, how let's look back and how was high school, and they tell me, high school sucked, 9 out of 10 times, okay, that they aren't involved in anything. We all need to feel a part of something. And even if they're involved in their youth group, they're involved, they're a volunteer firefighter or EMT. Involvement is critical with our kids feeling a part of something, a sense of purpose, and it keeps them out of trouble. Okay, when our kids have excess downtime, I don't care who you are, okay, you're 15 or you're like 78, when we have too much downtime, it's not good. It equates to nothing good. And that has a tendency to trigger heightened anxiety, depression, and then it also gets into escalated substance abuse or experimentation. So get your kids involved. I don't care if they're a senior in high school. It is never too late to get your kid involved. And that also goes for college kids too, elementary school kids. We all need to be involved as human beings and feel a part of something. All right, so now we're moving on from what we're involved with our kids, them being connected, and I'm going to say social media screen time. Dude, put a limit on it. All right, if they're constantly on it, I cannot tell you how many articles have been coming out within the past year that when our young people, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school, have excessive screen time, from Super Facebook of America to gaming till 2 o'clock in the morning, it's proven to rewire our kids' brains. Holy moly, we're going to see this progressing as time goes on. It makes my heart break when we have kids who don't have the ability or struggle with the ability to interact, to communicate, to have one-on-one contact. They're interviewing for a job. I don't know how to talk to somebody. Hello? We need to minimize their screen time, all right? Being aware of what they're looking at. At 9 o'clock at night, have a little basket of goodness that they put their cell phones on that's next to your bureau in your bedroom. Unless they're on a crisis hotline team, which I'm going to say they're not, they don't need their phones, okay? Because it's affecting their quality of sleep. That goes back to our first one. It's a catalyst for anxiety and stress and drama train, okay? Your kid's cell phone is drama palooza, baby. And if you hopped on there and really looked at what was going on from their different social media feeds to their texting, there's drama. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, our kids don't need to be involved in that. Take their cell phones away because it plays a role in all the previous things I talked to you about. Last and final one, our number 6 that we're going to rock out with. If our kids have excessive downtime, I had said that's not a good thing. So maybe they're not plugged in, they're not a 3-sport athlete, or they're not super duper involved, and they do have, you would consider, excess downtime. I think, from middle school and high school, kids can work 5 or 10 hours a week, and it gives them a sense of responsibility, accountability, makes them kind of stoked that they've earned their money. And that's a really great thing and life lesson. And you say, well, my kid's in middle school. What does that mean? Well, they can babysit, a family friend. They could go out and rake leaves. There's something super great about when our kids have ownership of what they're doing with their money. They are taught responsibility. Awesome life lessons when we get into this. All right. And hand in hand with that, and my heart, I believe, from, when a kid is in elementary school, middle school, and high school, every kid in your home, under your roof, should have some form of chores, okay? I believe it allows them to respect you more. It gives them a sense of ownership for your household, and it's paving the way for them when they are adults. Because if you're a young person, when they're in high school, doesn't know how to do their laundry, or doesn't know how to boil an egg, or, make toast with a little bit of butter or jam on it, we've got some issues, okay, once they're in college and so forth. When it's not soaking the fun out of their experience as a high school or middle school kid, it's empowering them, It's all how we look at it and we tweak things. And it's giving them life lessons that will make them better as human beings and adults wherever life leads them. So those are our 6 for this week. We've got school on its way. I know our school's starting next week. It's 180 days ahead for our kids. That is going to go very quickly. But we don't want our kids to dread school. We don't want our kids to I can't wait and I'm counting down to graduation because I just don't dig it. They need to be involved. They need to get sleep. They need to be eating properly, eating as a family, all these different things that we talk about that kind of just wrap into one that helps and empowers and strengthens our kids as human beings. So check it out tomorrow, goodnesschick.com. On my blog, and I do encourage you to hop on Goodness Chick Facebook page. I do daily updates on all different things that pertain to parenting teens, addiction, mental health, life as we know it. So check it out. Thanks for joining me today. Peace, love, and goodness.